Back to Everyday South Texan. Just want to share a little project that I've been working on here. I've got this live edge slab that I've flattened. Made a little flattening jig over there with some scrap lumber I had. And you just run your router across inside here. I've got this little track here. You just set your router here and you run it back and forth, and you're able to flatten out whatever material you're working on. So just to show you this one, you can see the saw marks from the chainsaw when I cut this and I slabbed it out. I want to leave a little bit of character, so I'm going to leave this little section here and that little corner back there. The whole thing previously looked like this here. You can see I flattened out this side here and that side there. They were high spots, and that's so that when I put my hardware, I'm going to turn this into a bench. When I mount my hardware, it'll have a flat spot to mount to. I don't need to worry about flattening this at all. I can leave that. But the next step, I went and bought some chisels from the old Harbor Freight, and I'm gonna take my orbital sander. I don't know if you can see all these marks, these lines from the router. I'm gonna sand all that down with my orbital sander, but I plan on putting this outside as a bench. The bark will end up separating, so I plan on peeling it all off and trying to keep as much of this red here as I can, but more than likely it's going to come all the way off, and then just give that a nice sand, and then I will finish it. So I'll bring you guys along for a little bit of that. So yeah, stick around. Alright folks, this is the pack of chisels that I got. 6 of them for $10 at Harbor Freight. So that's going to be the process all the way down, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright guys, check it out. So I debarked it, sanded it with a 100 grit with the random orbit, and it's pretty smooth. You can still see some fibers and some hairs sticking up. So I am going to sand it with the 220 and then blow all the dust off. You can see some of the dust still. And then I'm still going to try to keep this. I don't know if you can see the little fibers sticking up, but I'm still going to try to keep this red. And if I can't, it'll end up looking like this. This is where the bark was just too chewed up and tore up that I really couldn't keep any of the bark. So this is the wood only. It's a little bit of that red bark still, and you can see it's more. So if it ends up peeling off and coming off, I'm just putting oil on it. So and then some. I'm going to put some Ready Seal on here, which is what I use to stain my fence. And it has some UV blockers in it, so I think it'll help preserve the finish after I oil it. And I'll show a little bit of that when I oil it. That's probably the best part of this whole project because it's the most satisfying part. But yeah, so that's this project here so far. You can see I just did a little light sand of this, but I like the texture of it. I like the fact that it's, you can see the saw where it came in. I'm gonna cut this thing down, so I'm gonna leave that, and I'm gonna leave the natural edge. I sanded this lightly also just to take any burrs. I did around all the corners so that they weren't sharp. Okay, you know, you can go sit down, grab it, whatever. So yeah, guys, this is it, and I'll bring you along for the oiling part when I start the oiling. Alright guys, so here it is after it's been oiled with a couple coats. You can see it sitting on top. I'm gonna let that soak in, and then I'll hit it with the oil-based sealer stain, and then it will have a little bit more of a red golden color to it. So stick around and see how that comes out. We put a couple of layers or coats of the boiled linseed oil, and it's dried. Feels pretty good. You can still see in the end grain here that it could use some more. And along here, I'm just gonna keep putting the oil. You see on the end grain here, and they could use a little more to darken up a little bit until it just doesn't absorb in. That way it's protected, and I've saturated the wood as much as possible, and will be protected. I also flipped it over and put a couple coats on the underside, so that way it'll absorb. So I'm gonna keep doing that, and then I'll show you what it looks like after I do a couple more coats. So hang in there. Alright guys, I went ahead and added a little brand to it. So I like the way it came out. Color looks pretty good. I still haven't hit it with the stain sealant. It's a semi-translucent stain that I'm going to utilize, so it won't darken it much more than it is here. So yeah, I'll show you what that looks like. Hang in there. Alright folks, check it out. So I have sanded it, oiled it with boiled linseed oil, went ahead and branded it, and then I stained it with the Ready Seal pecan color, and I think it came out pretty good looking. It's not real oily. I think everything is absorbed. It's been in the garage, has not been outside, and this is the first time it's been outside, so I'm gonna let the sun help it dry out a little more, and then we'll put the legs on. So stick around. Alright guys, my legs came in, got them off Amazon, so let's see what they look like. Alright, so it came with some hardware. I don't know if I'll end up using it or if I'll use my own hardware. But here's what the legs look like. It's a trapezoid. So they've got these tabs. Got a tab here. Just got the tab here. It's pre-drilled. And it's rated up to 500 pounds, I believe. So I had to go with this particular style. I was looking at a different style, but I had to go with this one because we're 7 inches here, and I only have 10 inches maximum for the width of the bench. So we went with this guy. So I'll show y'all what it looks like when it's on. All right, folks, I've got the legs mounted here. So I pre-drilled the screws so that I didn't split the wood or anything like that. So one other thing, if you guys have some clear coat or some more black paint for the legs, they scratch really easy. The paint, they're not powder coated, they're just spray painted. So if you've got some spray paint, I had some here on the shelf. I've got the semi-gloss protective enamel, so you can see right there, corrosion resistance, color retention. So since it is going to be outside, I sprayed the legs. You know, do the best job you can. I got a couple of little runs, but you should be able to see them because it's going to be underneath where your legs are going to be sitting. I got to respray this one. This got some marks right there that need to be painted. That was out of the box. So yeah, that's how I mounted it, and they look pretty good. I'm gonna turn it over and show you what it looks like. Hang on. Alright guys, here it is. The bench is set up. So yeah, that was the experience I had flattening this with the planing jig and my router, sanding it down, oiling it and sealing it, and I had the legs for this bench. So thanks everyone for sticking around to the end and checking out Everyday South Texan. Catch you on the next one. Later.